Brought to you in part by Monadnock Flooring and Decorating, offering quality sales, service, and installation for over 35 years on Production Avenue next to Subaru of Keene. Hey everybody, welcome to A Culinary Journey. So, you know what, when you have a great meal prepared out, you need a good wine to go with it. And I'll create the great meal, but it's cool to have a friend come over and talk about wine and learn a little bit more. So today's show, we are going to mix a salmon, a pan-seared salmon with a little bit of a teriyaki glaze to it, with a pineapple and strawberry salsa, and we're going to do sweet potatoes that are going to be glazed with shallots and ginger and wine. So I need a friend to have come over, so I'm going to have Kevin Powell, who's a wine rep, and he's like my sommelier of choice for the restaurant. Whenever I need to know about wines, I call him up. He tells me all about it. He's going to come in and tell us a little bit about wines. We're going to drink some rosé, have some salmon, some salsa and sweet potatoes, and have a great time. And you're going to be in here watching the whole thing. You know why? Because your culinary journey starts now. Everybody, welcome back to A Culinary Journey. I'm Luca Paris. I'm here with my good friend Kevin Powell. Kevin, what's up, buddy?
How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's great to have you on.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, we've been talking about this for years, and you're finally here.
I know. It's been a while.
It's because I keep forgetting about you.
I know. So wonderful.
But, you know, and why would I forget
Look at
about
his
you? You
face.
have wine.
This is forgettable right here.
Oh, stop. All right, so we're going to be making salmon with a salsa today. You're going to help me cook. You do a lot of cooking at home.
I do.
I mean, you love
I
to
do.
cook.
Yep.
And really, the pairing of wine and food is important beyond just like, hey, I need a glass of wine to go with this. It's essential in making it taste better or fighting it, right?
Exactly. I think there's a lot of wine that people tend to avoid just because it's got acidity or it's got certain characteristics in it that they're like, I don't know if I drink this. But let's face it, wine was originally invented to be with food. I mean, that was the whole idea of the course. And over time things have changed. It also can be had as a cocktail depending on the style of wine. But for me personally at home and my wife, both of us love to just enjoy wines that go with food, higher acidity, crisp, refreshing, things like that. So, and it changes all the time.
And now you deal with wine all the time because you're an importer.
I do.
Yeah, you bring it all into the state of New Hampshire, and you get some of the best wines. We'll talk about a couple that you represent in the state today too. Sure. Now, the first thing we want to get doing is making our salsa.
Yes.
With the salsa, we're actually doing pineapple and strawberry as our fruit instead of tomatoes, because tomatoes is the fruit in the salsa. We're going to switch that out with a little pineapple and strawberry. Cilantro, we're going to put some scallions, peppers, and onions. So you start cutting those up, and I'll start working on the salmon and the sweet potato glaze. Now, the first thing we want to get going is the sweet potato glaze, and I want to do is start with a cold pan, and I'm going to use a little bit of wine. Now, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong. You shouldn't really cook with anything you don't want to drink, right, as far as wine goes?
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad rule of thumb to have. I mean, the one thing I always tell people to avoid is just to make sure that your wine doesn't have oak in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like a lot of people just grab a bottle of Chardonnay, and a lot of times Chardonnay will be oaked, but the problem with having oak in your Chardonnay is you also have now oak in your food, so be careful of that.
So will it give it a oaky flavor?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, like a weird, sometimes a very weird woody flavor to it.
Wow,
yeah,
that's interesting.
It's not always pleasant, but depending on what you're making.
Okay, so that's one of the things. Now, but something like that's cooked, that might be called cooking wine. Would I stay away from that in the stores? What is that really?
I think cooking wine is great when you're making like stews and sauces, and if you're going to get really, really into it and make stocks.
Okay.
Then I would have some. Then I would have cooking wine because it's not that important because we're going to do a lot of reduction and things like that. But if we're going to make a delicate dish like a sauté dish where we're going to have something like, a white wine like a Beurre Blanc, we're going to use a little white wine with it. Then it's very important, I think, to have a nicer quality wine.
All right, and it doesn't mean you have to break the bank on the wine that you're doing.
No.
Just a nice drinkable wine. And with the amount of wines that are out there today, it's incredible how much you can
Yeah.
you can find at good values and good quality.
It's just not hard to find. I mean,
Right.
you can find even the remotest supermarket's going to have something. Like, and if you're somewhere where the wine selection is very, very, sparse, I would suggest maybe getting Pinot Grigio. Yeah, so it's traditionally unoaked and can be very, very crisp and good for cooking.
All right, so in this case, though, we're using a Grillo.
Grillo, yeah.
And it's from Italy. It's a
Yep.
different wine. Now, what I'm going to be using it for is a glazed a glazed sweet potato stick. So what I'm doing is making sweet potato sticks out of this. And this could be done with any root vegetables. It's great for carrots as well. I'm going to add a little bit of ginger to this. And I'm going to add white wine and butter. But I'm going to start it from cold. In this case, I want everything to start off cold in there. So I got a couple of pats of butter with the white wine. I'm going to put my sweet potato sticks in. And we're going to cover this up and then turn this on medium heat till it gets to a little bit of a bubble. I'm going to put a little bit of my Ariosto spice and, of course, the ginger in here. We're going to let that all fit. This is a ground ginger. What I do when I get fresh ginger, just so that way, there's two ways to do it. You want to keep it in the freezer like you do horseradish,
Right.
and then chop it as you need it. Or you could grind it and then put it in the refrigerator, and then it's going to hold really well, and then you can, again, use it whenever you want to do that as well. It'll hold all that flavor in. So we have that, the ginger. We have a little bit of seasoning in there, the sweet potato. We're going to put it on here. We're going to pretty much forget this till we get towards the end, and we have our wine in there. You're cutting up our ingredients for our salsa, and that's, again, the peppers, the onions, the scallions, the cilantro. Do you have a favorite wine?
I get that question quite a bit. For me, wine is about mood, about what I'm doing. Sometimes it all depends on whether I decide I have a wine in mind that I want to drink, and then I build like a dinner around it or a meal around it. And then other times it's just I have an idea of what I want to eat, and then I afterward decide what I'm going to have to drink. But really, it's always for me predicated on what I'm doing and what my mood is. If I had to lean towards something, desert island sort of scenario, I'd probably say something either from the Rhone or something from Italy. I mean, I like the drier styles that, either, especially blends like Valpolicellos and things like that.
I love the idea that if you were stuck on a desert island, you'd think about what wine you'd...
Yeah, some people like, for books, for me, it's wine. My mother would roll her eyes at me, for sure.
They're like, oh, what would you do if you were on a desert? Well, it depends on what kind of wine I have.
What kind of wine do we have?
All right, so I'm going to get our salmon going. There's a couple of things I want to do about the salmon. We're going to have... we're actually going to cook this only on one side and finish it in the oven. It's a new technique that I've been working on that I've seen other chefs do, where you've cooked the salmon, you get this nice crispy skin on the outside.
Love that.
But with that crispy skin, I'm going to also add a little glaze to the pan. That's going to help finish it and give it some more flavor. So we're going to work on that in a little bit. We got time for that as you cut up the salsa. Yeah. The wine that we have today. Yep. Take your time. It's a half-hour show. We got.
Oh, great! All right.
So, no, I'm going to help you with that.
I'm going to slow it down a little bit.
Well, the wine we have today that I'm drinking right now is a rosé.
Yes.
So people, rosé has had a bad connotation to it because everybody thinks right off the bat, sweet, and then white Zinfandel. Because even though white Zinfandel serves its purpose in the wine world, we definitely see where it's given some wines a bad name. But rosés are not a generally sweet wine, are they?
No. Traditionally, when you see the word rosé on a bottle, I would dare say that probably 98% of the time it's going to be dry. The style, using the word rosé is indicating a style that's made very famous in the southern part of France. Typically from the Provence or somewhere in the very southern part of Rhone. And this is actually kind of what we're drinking today. So that, to get this more, if you look at the color real quick here, more this lighter, speaking of salmon, colored pinkish hue to it. And that nice acidity, usually nice fresh strawberries. It's just so funny that we actually are going to cook with some strawberries today.
Well, it looks like we're going like with this whole
thing. Yeah, exactly.
Huh?
That's really what I want to try to do today. You mentioned having salmon, so I think it's a good idea just to have something that we're going to pair right along with it. I think it's fun.
So and the pairing part is always another thing that when people are first starting to drink wine, you got that first inclination is red with redder meats or darker meats, white with lighter meats, but that's not always true, but it's a good way to follow that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I've learned over the years, and I that I always suggest to people is, first and foremost, think about weight. Think about the weight of the food you're eating and think about the weight of the wine that you're going to drink. And I think it's important that that's probably even more so now than ever, the primary thought I would have. So don't worry so much about red or white. Obviously we're having we're having pink wine here with salmon, but one of my favorite wines traditionally to drink with salmon is a lighter style red, like a Pinot Noir or Valpolicella or something. Yeah, I think salmon's one of those, I call them fruit proteins. Things like pork and salmon and even ham and things that actually take a fruitiness very well. Duck is a great example. I know you did duck earlier
and that's why you find them with a lot of fruit sauces as well.
Exactly.
You'll find duck and ham and pork. They'll get these cherry sauces or oranges. And I never even thought of it that way. So you have a lighter salmon. Now I've heard before, like fat with fat.
Yep.
When you think of a steak, people will think of like let's say a fatty steak like a ribeye or something big and bold.
Yep.
Wouldn't a really oaky Chardonnay go well with that, or a buttery Chardonnay because it's got that fat to it?
Yeah, you want to be careful of that though, because the one issue that you have is when you have Chardonnay and it's buttery, it tends to be not as acidic.
Okay.
You're giving up one thing to get another.
Okay.
And the one thing the other golden rule with pairing food and wine is that acid cuts fat. So you have acidity in the wine that cuts through the fattiness of the protein that you're eating. And that's why big tannic cabs go really well with big steaks, because you have a lot of decent acidity in the Cabernet, but usually it spends a lot of time in oak.
Right.
And that oak produces a type of acid that we call tannins that gives the that pairs really well with a thing like steak. So, I would even suggest if you're going to do something like white, like Chardonnay, I would do something that has a good amount of oak to it, and actually it tends to be a little less buttery.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so you get a little bit of both worlds.
Correct.
There you go.
Correct.
So we got some great talk about wine coming up. We have in this pan are my sweet potatoes that were braised down. Ginger. I added shallots. I didn't add that when I first put this together because I was thinking about drinking that wine. And added the shallots in here. We got the ginger, some Ariosto. The sweet potatoes getting a nice glaze. And, of course, the Grillo wine in here. And that's all cooking down. It's going to take about 15 to 20 minutes to get where we want it to be. We'll add some moisture to it so it could thicken up. There's some butter in there as well. We're going to start on our salmon when we come back. Kevin's going to finish working on our salsa. Yeah, it's going to be a while. Mm-hmm. The girls from my last couple of weeks were faster.
Yeah,
that, right?
I'm sure they were. I never said I was like fast. Never says I was fast, and they were 8.
So anyway, when we come back, we'll have most of the salsa made. We start on our salmon. Talk a little bit more about red, white, and rosé wine. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Cheers. I'm going to drink while he's working.
That's fine.
There you go. Hey everybody, welcome back. We're working on our little brunch here. A little bit of wine, good friend, and some salsa, and we're calling this the 90-minute salsa.
I got the peppers cut. Took me the rest of the break to do that.
We have pineapple, scallions, strawberry. That's all we really have in there. Where's everything else? Peppers you're going to put in there. Strawberries are going in. We're giving a little sweetness. Here's my potatoes. Now what's going to happen is these are going to start cooking down, but they need just a little bit moisture. So let's add in some more wine in here, because that doesn't hurt.
Nope.
No. Nope. And we have, like I said, we have some butter in there, and that little moisture needs to cook down. We'll give it like a little shake, and we'll let it keep in there. Shallots, we had the butter in there. We'll just let that cook down on high heat. We've cranked it up a little bit. And on here, I'm going to take a little paprika dust and season our...
Sounds fancy.
You make paprika dust. It's by squeezing the paprika on your fingers. And then we're going to just season our paprika. We're going to put a little oil in the pan, which is a blended canola / olive oil blend. We'll get that in our pan. We made sure the pan was hot, and then the oil goes in, and I want to get it a little bit of a sizzle. Now, there's a lot of different ways to make your salmon, but if you want to get this nice crispy top to the salmon, a lot of people like this crispy fish top.
I do.
And then if you like it that way, what we're going to do is exactly that today, is by taking the fish and only searing it and then finishing it off in the oven. So we're going to get the oil nice and hot because I want to get a nice sear to this. And then we're going to start searing, and I'll kind of show you how we're actually never going to turn it over until we're ready to serve it.
Great.
So that'll give it our crispiness without the skin. Sweet potatoes are going, our salsa's going. Hold on, I need to drink more wine.
Can't wait till this salsa's done so I can drink.
So yeah,
some.
well, you can always stop.
Stop.
We go to break.
We only have half an hour.
All right, my pan's nice and hot, so I'm going to take the salmon, kind of drop it away from me. Always go away from yourself, just in case the in case the oil wants to attack you in some way.
Yep.
And then we're just going to leave it in there. I'm going to season the other side with a little bit of Ariosto seasoning. All right, and there we go. And we're not really going to touch it. Now, it's something that I might have to pick up one of these to show you, but what will happen is that the top of the skin is going to start getting pink, and I might be able to bring that up. You see that it's starting to get this pinkness or getting going away from that orange to a lighter color. I want it to get to almost a brown, and then that's when I'm going to pop it in the oven for another 5 to 8 minutes, finishing the... You're done!
A world
Nice.
record.
Oh, great, now we need to do another one just like that.
What?
No, I'm kidding.
I need some wine.
The only thing we're going to need to add to that is cilantro, lime juice. Oh, and red
that's
onion.
right.
Here's your red onion.
There's your red
Well, we
onion.
got time. We got time.
All right, got some cilantro.
Yeah, that's
here.
it. I'm just talking. We got plenty of wine. So now you brought a white, a red, and a rosé.
Yeah. I actually have a sparkling wine too with me. I just try to always bring a little bit of both. I think it's just never know. It's fun to try different things. I'm always exploring what new flavors might go together. It's kind of fun. Wine is so dynamic that way. You never know. I always love reading certain, magazine journal entries about, different pairings they've tried because I think it's just interesting to see, like, oh, I never would have put those two things together.
Right.
So I go out and buy those ingredients and try it myself, and well, lo and behold,
You
it
find
actually
that's why you're
tastes
invited.
pretty good.
That's why you're invited to most places. I can only imagine.
Am I supposed to be? Is that what,
Yeah. You're supposed to bring wine every time you go?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so my
direct
white,
correlation.
my orange went to pink to white. Now it's starting to get brown. I'm going to show you on this piece about how it's starting to get a crust, and it's just lifting off. But you can see where it's starting to create a crust, but it's not quite there yet. But what I'm going to do is, as this is still in the pan, make sure it's a oven-proof pan, and you could go in there. I'm going to pop it in there for the next about 10 minutes because I have some thicker pieces. And those pieces are going to cook all the way through, and that crust is going to get really, really crispy and amazing. It's 400 degrees in the pan, in the oven, and the pan goes in the oven. So I got that. The other thing I'm going to do real quick, since we had the flavors of ginger, we have the flavors of, all these kind of really island flavors. We got this nice salsa going on with the pineapple. We're going to do a little teriyaki glaze for the salmon. So right in this pan, I'm going to take a little bit of that ground ginger, pop it in there. Some teriyaki, which is basically all salt, so I'm not adding any salt to this mixture. And I'm going to cook those down, and then we're going to just finish that off with a little bit of honey. So.
Sounds delicious.
Now, is there, because when we think of Italian, or when we think of wine pairings, we generally go with this Italian, French, Romance language feel because of those are the flavors that we deal with most of those wines. Can you go to the Far East and pair it with wines? Can you go to, the Southern Hemisphere and get away from the Southern Americas, but going to these really intricate flavored foods and still pair them with these northern wines? Or
Yeah, traditionally we have a saying in the wine industry, and it's sort of wine food industry, what grows with it goes with it.
Right.
And so, this idea that if you're in Tuscany and you have local cheeses and produce, the wines that you're drinking there sort of, you have this almost natural appeal to pair well with them. But I think one of the fun things to do is explore other areas, not region just in cooking, but also do the same thing with wine and see if you can find these different pairings. Usually I liken it to two things, either juxtapose where, big steak, big cab, they sort of run together, or juxtaposition, where I look at maybe Thai cooking. Something where I have like a spicy curry and with duck in it, and I'll put a sweeter Gewürztraminer up to it. So have this sort of angular pairing so that every time you take a drink, the spice is cut a little bit by the sweetness, and actually makes for a very, very delicious combination.
So it's really about exploring and having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the key word. Have fun with it. Wine, as daunting as it can be, and I know there's people out there that tend to ton to make it that way. That's one thing I always try to do is just make it not that way.
Right.
It's fun. Just have fun with it. And the more fun you have, the more you end up enjoying it.
Right.
And especially, the different pairings that you can create.
I think you could say the same about food too. I mean,
Yeah,
just don't get stuck in.
Yeah, don't pigeonhole
a mold.
yourself.
And I think we do that a lot on this show, where I'll start with a concept, and the next thing you know, we've added something to it because I forgot something.
Yeah. That too.
But some of the best mistakes create some of the best finished products.
Yeah, or
and
best new ideas.
And I'm out of wine.
You're out of wine?
Yeah.
That's
so I got
tragic.
my salmon in the oven. I have my sweet potatoes cooking here. I got my glaze cooking down where it's going to be thicken up. I added some honey. And Kevin poured me some more wine. So I feel good.
Hoppa.
Life is good. Here you go, my friend.
Cheers.
To fun times in the kitchen.
Absolutely.
Like Julia Child always said, you had to have.
Yes, very nice.
You always had to have a glass of wine for the food and for you. So that's what we're doing. So our salsa is almost done.
It's almost done.
Want some oil for there too?
Yeah, if you want a little
Salt and pepper?
Yeah, why not?
All right, we'll do that on the break.
Okay.
Don't go away. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. We're almost there. Salsa is finally made, man.
Yes.
Did you try it?
I haven't yet. I'm going to have just a
really?
little
That's
forkful. I
actually
know
important.
I know I should as a cook. You always should try your own food, right? You never know if you need salt or whatever.
Whatever you make.
just
Well, I
try.
hope it doesn't need salt because we used it all. Need pepper or anything? You good? You
Nope.
happy?
I put a little pepper in.
We're going to have a lot of stuff on top of that too. So here's our
Absolutely.
sweet potato
Absolutely.
that's been braised down with the glaze on it. I got a little
at that.
dark in some spots, but it's going to be a nice finish. It's got ginger, wine, a little bit of butter, shallots all together, and that's going to cook all this down. I'm in my little teriyaki glaze here. Let's check out our salmon, see how that's coming. Again, it's like, depending on the size of the salmon, you're going to go about 5 to 10 minutes. And if it's done correctly, it should kind of just pull right off. And let's start it on here so we can see what it looks like. And then we'll create a nice little crust on top. Yeah, and then it's cooked. It should be cooked all the way through. I like mine to get into that medium rare kind of category. Oh, this one's got a nice little crust
It's almost
too.
like he knows what he's doing, folks. Huh?
Shh, don't tell anybody. It's a secret. Maybe maybe one day I'll know what I'm doing. We'll put a little of the glaze on top. You could finish that glaze back in the oven if you want to, but this is just teriyaki and honey. We'll just give it a little bit of flavor. And it's got a richness and deep flavor right on there. All right, so let's pop our salsa right in there.
Yeah, let's do that.
And you know what? A couple of
Move your
shows.
wine here, sorry.
Thanks. I just happen to have some duck confit in here too.
Oh,
I was
nice.
just-
Well, you just made that on the break? Or? You did? Well,
yeah, so what? It takes 8 hours to cook.
it's unbelievable what he can do here, folks. I'm always astounded.
You and me both. The things that could happen here. Duck
long
with
as
salsa, it's not a bad idea. We
Yeah,
might have
actually, why not? Look at that.
Heck, one show I did duck on.
Spread it around nice
threw
and
it in
evenly.
some.
So we added some oil, some pepper in here, a little cilantro as well, right? And just
Yeah.
you see this color in this is just fantastic.
I'll say you
This is
know how to
excellent.
make a salsa.
Tell you what,
and we're
geez,
matching a
surprised
beautiful
even
color.
myself a little bit here.
Yeah, you don't surprise me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
So let's put our salmon right in there, and then we could dig in from there. Oh,
Wow,
yeah,
look at that.
Nice little presentation.
Yeah,
Look,
that's
hey, what the
wonderful.
heck?
Let's do
Let's
it.
go crazy.
Well done. This is gluttonous, my friend. Right
You
here. This is
didn't even
gluttonous.
know that was happening.
No, did not.
I'm gonna go for a piece of salmon.
Is this going to be? We have rosé here, so
So is that gonna be okay?
that's going to be fine. It's going to be fantastic. Actually.
Now look at that. It's nice and moist throughout, cooked through.
Yep. Yeah, that's
you know?
delicious.
And then you eat it with a little bit of the salsa.
Wow, that's fantastic.
I'm not upset. I could eat that.
I
By the
hope
way,
so.
dude, it was a great blast having you on here today.
It was fun. Thank
we
you
have
so much.
We have wine. We have some great rosé. We have red. We had cooked with a white. Some great food and great ideas to pair things.
Absolutely.
Thanks, man.
Keep it simple, right?
It's all about that. Kevin,
Pleasure as
you're
always.
awesome.
Thank
Kevin
you.
Powell, Vinalandia in
Thanks,
New
guys.
Hampshire. Good friend of the restaurant and mine. Hope you had a good time. I had a blast. I love to cook with good friends. And I'll see you next time on A Culinary Journey. Brought to you in part by Monadnock Flooring and Decorating, offering quality sales, service, and installation for over 35 years on Production Avenue next to Subaru of Keene.